Let's look at one of the major motivations of this new intolerance, which is this new censorship, which is the subject of religious intolerance. At the time of the European Enlightenment in the 18th century, the great writers and intellectuals of that movement, Rousseau, Voltaire, Montesquieu, Diderot, knew that their real enemy was not the state, but the church. Earlier, when the mighty Rabelais was under fire from the church, it was the King of France who defended him on the grounds of his genius. What an age that must have been, in which a writer could be defended because of his talent. Now, after Rabelais, the 18th century writers of the Enlightenment insisted that no church, even a church with an inquisition at its disposal, could be allowed to place limiting points on thought. The so-called crimes of blasphemy and heresy were their targets, because those were the crimes used by the church to limit discussion. And the modern idea of free speech was arrived at by defeating the notion that these were offenses and that these could be used as ways of silencing expression. Now, there's a tendency to say, that's a Western idea, that's not how we think over here. And I just wanted to mention something I've said before in other contexts, that the Indian tradition also includes, from its very earliest times, very powerful defenses of free expression. When Deepa Mehta and I were working on the film of Midnight's Children, one of the things we discussed often was a text which is very dear to her heart and is also to mine, which is the Natya Shastra. Now, in the Natya Shastra, we see the gods asking for theatre. The gods are a little bit bored in heaven, not that much to do. They decided they wanted entertainment, and so a play was made, and the play that was made was, as you perhaps know, was about the war between Indra and the Asharas, in which Indra, using his mighty weapons, defeats the demons. Well, when the play is performed to the gods, the demons are offended by their portrayal. The demons feel that this insults and offends them as demons. Their demonness is improperly criticized. And they attack the actors, whereupon Indra and Brahma come to the actors' defense, and gods are positioned at all four corners of the stage. And it is Indra who says that from now on, that stage will be a space where everything can be said and nothing can be stopped. So this is one of the most ancient of Indian texts, the Natya Shastra, which contains as explicit and extreme a defense of freedom of expression as you will find anywhere in the world. This is not alien to India. This is not alien to India. This is our culture, our history, and our tradition, which we are in danger of forgetting. And we should do well to remember it. There was an article I just read just now in this week's Hindu newspaper, which reminds us of Radhakrishnan. S. Radhakrishnan would talk about how many of the earliest texts of Hinduism, many of the oldest texts, do not contain the idea of the existence of God. And contemporaries of the Buddha, quoted also in this article, would say there is no other world than this one, and would deny the idea of a divine sphere. So again, in the oldest parts of Indian culture, there is an atheistic tradition in which the ideas of blasphemy and heresy have no meaning, because there is no divinity to blaspheme or be a heretic against. This again, this is our culture. This is not an imported culture. It's not alien to the Indian tradition. This is the Indian tradition. And those who say it is not, they are the ones who deform that tradition.